It's an absolute honor to be here. I'm humbled that someone would ask for me to tell my story. I am the regional manager for Combined Arms here in Austin. So today's going to be a little different than the first two sessions. I will spend almost as much time sharing my story with you as I will be talking about Combined Arms as well. My MO is usually not to sit around and talk about myself. I typically would want to hear your story first and foremost and hear about your journey. We're not in that forum, unfortunately. So I just hope that perhaps I say something or some experience that I've had resonates with you, even, just as a woman, as Sharon said, or as a female veteran, as a spouse or someone that you know. And then I'm going to tell you about an incredible organization that I absolutely adore, not only professionally, because I do work for them and I serve them, but also personally. It's one that I had wished I knew about when I was going through my experience. So I'll just get right into my story. Again, I'm Sharon Ozdarski. Many people just stop at Oz, not a problem. And I am a former Navy spouse. My husband was in the Navy for 25 years. He went in as a nuke, and he was a nuke for 2 years and then decided to go to BUDS. He actually went through BUDS twice and became a Navy SEAL, where he had a successful 23-year career as a Navy SEAL. And I stood by his side strong for 20 years. I met him when I was a senior in college, and I had a plan. And part of my story, it's important that you know I am a planner. It might not always work out, but I always have a plan. And I was going to graduate from college. I was going to go on and get a master's degree, a dual master's in criminal justice and sociology. And then I was going to transfer those credits to a university where I'm from to work on my JD. I was going to take my study for my LSATs, and I was going to become a criminal defense attorney. And that was the plan. And I did go on to get a dual master's degree in sociology and criminal justice at Old Dominion University. I am from Virginia Beach. And when I met my husband, my senior year in college, it was in Virginia Beach. And he was my mom's next door neighbor. And I was telling Sharon yesterday, and it's funny when I look back, but I don't come from a military family, no military experience. And I kept telling my mom, I couldn't remember, was he a porpoise? Was he a dolphin? Because in the Atlantic Ocean, you've got porpoises, you have dolphins, you don't have seals. And I could not remember what he was. I didn't care. He had a cute smile and he wore camos, and I just thought that was super cool. So when I finished my master's, I did not go on to study to become an attorney. I decided that I was going to follow him, and we were going to hang out because I didn't want to leave him. And we lived together. My mother would tell me all the time, Sharon, he's never going to buy the cow unless, if he's getting the milk for free. So when we finally got engaged, I called my mama and I said, Mama, it looks like he's decided to buy the cow. So she was happy, and we did. We got engaged, and we got married. We went on to in the SEAL teams. You're typically only stationed on the east or west coast. And so it's usually the Virginia Beach, Virginia area where I'm from. My whole family's there. My parents were born and raised there. Or you go to San Diego. There are other duty stations, but those are pretty much the two duty stations that you're assigned to, because those are where the teams are. So in my planning that I tend to do, I was very fortunate to find a position with a government contractor that had the contracts for the Fleet and Family Support Centers on the East Coast, and then in Virginia Beach, and then also in San Diego. So wherever we would go, I would always have a position with this contractor. And it worked beautifully because we went back and forth to the coast, and I always had a job. And I loved being a military spouse. And then 9/11 happened. 9/11 happened, and it changed everybody's world, right? It didn't matter if you were in the military or not, but no matter where you were in this world, no matter what you did, what your career was, it changed all of us. 2 days after 9/11, he was on a plane out. We were in Coronado at the time. He was the second plane on the ground. He was gone for about 10 and a half months. Fortunately, he did return, and he returned a very different person. And I think that if we all sit back and think about the war and the casualties involved, and we suffered post 9/11 some of our country's most catastrophic events. Today, actually, August 8th, is the anniversary of Extortion 17. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that was a Chinook that went down during the Afghan war on August 8th of 2011. There was actually 38 members on board, and at that time, it was actually one of our biggest U.S. casualties at that time. So today, if you have a moment, please say, have a moment of silence for those individuals that were on that plane. But we stood strong, and I was a strong wife. I held down the house. He was a strong, soldier. He held up his part of the bargain. He went to war and he came back, and it was deployment after deployment. In 2003, I became pregnant with our first child. And I decided that I would go ahead and stay home as a stay-at-home mother, because our deployments were no longer on this very neat 2-year time frame where it was, you're home for 6 months, you're in a year of schools, you're deployed 6 months, and then you start your new rotation at a new command. We were kind of all over the place. He was constantly at schools. He would have impromptu deployments. And so we made the decision as a family, I would stay home. So I started staying home at 2004, and I raised 2 kids, and we were strong. I was very active in our community. I was back in Virginia Beach, fortunately. So I not only had my personal family, but I also had my military family and a huge community. The military presence in Virginia Beach is strong. I mean, people are proud. We have "I Love Jet Noise" on our cars. Everywhere you go, people are wearing their hats and their sweatshirts and their T-shirts, and they're proud Americans. They're proud soldiers, and their community filled with love and support. And I couldn't have been more fortunate to be in the environment that I was in. And it also allowed me to be very strong for other females, other spouses who maybe didn't have that environment to fall back on. I had my mom, I had my dad, I had Thanksgiving, I had Christmas, and all the holidays, and I would bring them all together, and we had a wonderful community there. And in our household, as we were staying strong, we had a motto, and our household motto was "One day." One day we will be free from our commitment to the military, and we will be civilians, and we will get to travel. And one day we will be financially free and financially secure, because we will have retirement from the military, and of course we will have this incredible new career opportunity. And one day we'll get a honeymoon that we never took, and one day we'll have couples trips, and one day we'll have date night, and one day and one day and one day. And that one day would be in 2013. He did decide to spend 25 years, not 20, but 25 years, and in the military. And he retired. He was going to retire in 2013. And so my idea and all my planning of retirement was euphoric. Right. In my mind, I am literally running through pastures, green pastures, with, a sundress, and my children are smiling, and he's walking, just so proud, and we're happy. And we are going to stay in Virginia Beach in 2013, and we are going to be with my family, and we are going to continue to be connected with our military family. Financially, we are going to be solid, right? We're just going to have the money coming in. And it's going to be the day that we have waited for at that point, almost 20 years for me and 25 for him. In February of 2013, I got a phone call from him. He was here in Texas. I did not know why he was here. In hindsight, I realized he was on a job interview. And I answered the phone, and he said, "What do you think about Texas?" And no offense to those of you who are from this beautiful country that we live in here in Texas. But I said to him, "I don't think about Texas. I've never been there. Why would I?" Well, I'm sure you know where this story's going. And he got an incredible job opportunity here with an amazing organization, a foundation here that he really could not pass up. And so I did what I always do. I packed up the house that I love so much. I sold it. I put everything in storage. I put because he was on terminal leave, by the way. So of course he left, right, to start his new career, because that's what you're supposed to do, I guess. No honeymoon in there. And so I packed up the house. I sold my house. I actually had to move out on my birthday, just to kind of dig that in a little bit more. And I put us into the hotel at Dam Neck Base, finished out the school year, planned the retirement. He flew in for the retirement. We had the party. We hopped in the car. We flew to Austin. And by the next Monday, he was back at work. And I know that's a story that many of you have had. You're on a mission. And that was our next mission. I didn't realize it, but that's what it was. He was on a next mission to become successful and create his version of success after retirement. We were here for 3 months. We were in a hotel. We were actually robbed in that hotel. We had brought all of our our treasures. My son's Lego collection was meticulously bubble wrapped, and we woke up, it was all over the parking lot of the hotel. So we didn't have a great start here in Austin. Found a house, and we started in August of 13, our first year post-retirement here in Austin. And when I tell you that every statistic, every article that you read, every research that's been done on the issues that can arise in that year post-retirement, we experienced them. And not only did we experience them once, sometimes several times. And I won't go into the details of that time, but retirement hit us like a Mack truck. It really did. It was not euphoric. It was not what we expected. And we weren't prepared. And not only do I feel, and I'll speak for him for one moment, and this is my perception, I don't know that he was prepared for the feelings that he would feel, but I'm here to tell you as a spouse, I 100% was not prepared for what I would feel. You know, here I've been in a cushy home with a lot of support, with a community that loved me, with a roof over my head and food on the table. Why is it that I would be going through anything emotional post-retirement? I'm not the one who deployed, and I'm not the one who, served and sacrificed my life. And yet I had all of these feelings that we read so much that the service member goes through. And I didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't know where to turn. And that was part of the problem. I was now in a community that the military was not as prevalent as it was in Virginia Beach. I didn't have my family. I didn't have friends. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know, was I eligible to reach out to the TVC? I just didn't know, or the TWC, or the VA, or, what is it? What's out there for a spouse, and where does a spouse go? And do you even call and say you're struggling and you need help? Does it matter? So I went through all of that, and unfortunately, a year later, it was me that was filing for divorce here in Austin. Then when I started to file for divorce, what comes next? You start your new mission, and me being a planner, I start to plan. I have to find a job. I have to figure out, where am I going to work? What do I like to do? What am I qualified to do? If you stop for one moment and think about technology and how it changed in 2004, when I told you I stopped working, till 2014, holy crap. I mean, I'd been active and I'd been doing things, but I wasn't in a corporate environment by any means. And here I'm in a tech town, and I have to find a job where I'm going to make enough money to support myself. And these master's degrees that I was so proud of, they meant nothing anymore. I mean, I graduated in 1999. Like, that tells you how old I am. And I was going through a divorce, and I had no bank account of my own. I had no 401k. I had no investments. I had no say. I really had nothing. I was starting from scratch. And so I was my choice. I filed. I essentially quit my job without a job. When you look at it, not eligible for benefits because I wasn't married 20 years out of 20 years of service. And I started looking for a position, and I found a position with a company. It was an entry-level position as a customer service representative. And I thought, you know what? I can answer the phone and I can be nice to people no matter what the circumstances are. I'm going to take the job. I did not make enough money to support myself. In fact, I was still living in the home the four of us, my two kids and my ex-husband and I, after we were divorced, because I couldn't move out. And I started working and started saving. And I remember my first week of work, right, in over a decade, I showed up, and I think it was day 2 or day 3. They had given me a computer, and I got an email. And I opened up my email, and it was a document that I was supposed to read. And so I opened up the document and I start reading it for training, and the document's moving. And there's sentences that are changing, and there's words that are being rearranged, and there's things being highlighted. And I start to panic, and I think, oh my gosh, this is a company document. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't touch anything. I haven't moved anything, and it's changing. And so there was a young man, and when I say young, remember, at this point, I am a couple weeks away from my 40th birthday. The people I was working with in this entry level position, most of them are in college. They're 20 years plus younger than I am. And I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, can you please help me? I said, I don't understand. I opened up this document, it's moving. And he looks at me and he says, oh my God, you are a dinosaur. He said, this is a Google Doc. And you want to know something? We can all laugh about it. And because it's funny, I use Google Drive all the time. I didn't even know what he meant. What do you mean it's a Google Doc? He's like, it's a shared Google Doc. And he pointed up in the corner. He said, see all those little faces? Those people are in this document right now. Okay, can I tell you? Poof. Like, that was the craziest thing I had ever heard of in my entire life, that there's a document that people can be in at 40 years old, in 2014. And it's funny, but it's not funny, because I was dependent on this job to survive and dependent on this job to live. And again, by myself. Do I get training? Who do I even call? I have older parents. My mother right now is 80. So she was in her 70s. She's 75 years old. She's not going to tell me what a Google Doc was. I was too embarrassed to call my siblings. So that was a life-changing moment for me, believe it or not. I decided I would remain hyper vigilant, and I would teach myself, and I was going to succeed, and I was going to survive. And so that company, which I'm pretty excited to tell you that nobody knew about, was Yeti Coolers. I was a customer service rep there, and I was open ears all day. And we do, right? The military speaks in acronyms, and it is a learned language. Guess what? Corporate America has their own acronyms, and they're more confusing than the military's acronyms. So I would write these acronyms down, and I would go home and I would research them, and I would learn about sales and business, and basically gave myself a little MBA, learned about COGS and, financial statements. And I was fortunate enough to be asked to start taking some of their first corporate orders. Yeti Coolers just boomed in 2016. And I was the OG for what is now the Yeti Corporate Sales Program. It is a multi-million-dollar program for that company. And I was part of formulating it and, building out process and building out systems and figuring out, workflow and return on investment and all of that. And I didn't even know what a shared Google Doc was. And so it was hard. I had my head down. I worked hard. I shed a lot of tears. I went to a lot of therapy sessions. I was sharing with Sharon yesterday that I did find a therapist here in the area that I could talk to, but they didn't have any military experience. There was a disconnect there when I would try to explain things. I didn't know where to find one with military experience. And finally, last year, I picked my head up and I thought, you know what, I'm okay. And last year was my year where I finally, so 6 years later, where I finally had an opportunity to think, what is it that I love? What do I enjoy? Who am I? Am I in the right profession? And am I doing what I love? And so last year I started looking for volunteer opportunities because I missed my military family. I missed being able to share experiences and be there for support. And I felt like I had gone through this journey and maybe I had something to offer somebody to help them. And so I found, and it's in the chat, my first stop in my journey in finding what makes me happy was the I have so many acronyms. the Veteran Spouse Network. I found Dr. Bora at UT, who had formulated the Veteran Spouse Network. Veteran Spouse Network is a member organization of Combined Arms, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. But when I reached out, I found online the Institute for Military and Family Wellness. And I thought it was a brick and mortar location. I thought, I'm going to show up and I'm going to bring coffee and donuts and I'm going to meet people and it's going to be amazing. It is not. It's a foundation that was formulated, and she's devoting all of this research to spouses to shine light on the fact that, yes, we have PTSD too in some instances, depending on your experience. Yes, we have feelings of failure. And when that military door closes on you, and my goodness, it closes fast, we have feelings of loss too. And we go through feelings of self-worth. And, looking at our life, I mean, I sat at home for 10 years. I've had those moments. I thought, what did I do? Did I do the right thing? Now look at me. I'm working with people who are 25 years, in some instances, younger than I am. And I'm so far behind the curve. And so she has, and again, that it's worth checking out. You don't have to be an active duty spouse. You don't have to be married to a veteran. You can be a divorced spouse, which really touches my heart. You can be a life partner, a caregiver. It's not just for Texas. I think it was probably intended to be, but they are getting inquiries from people who are in other states, and they're really trying to open the door to everybody, to bring spouses together for a support network, and so they can join together. So that's a little bit of a plug for the Veteran Spouse Network, but it's a worthwhile organization for sure. So check that out. Through my interaction with Dr. Bora and the Veteran Spouse Network, that's when I learned of Combined Arms. Combined Arms is an incredible organization. I'm going to give you a presentation on them here in a minute. And when I went to go research them, they just happened to have advertised a position for an Austin regional manager. And I thought, I'm in. I don't know what that means. It doesn't matter. I'm going to apply. I'm there. I'm going to give it my all, and it's going to be amazing. And I am 60 days into this position. This was just in May of this year. And I will tell you, it's amazing. Thank you. I'm humbled. And when I talked to Dr. Bora, I cried. When I talked to Sharon, I cried, or Sharon, I cried. I'm overwhelmed with just joy and just a heart of giving, and just wanting so badly to be there for whoever needs it. So I'm excited. I'm very excited to share with you Combined Arms. So I talk so fast too, so I'm going to try to do the presentation a little slower so you don't miss anything. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Hold on one moment. And then if Teal or, oops, sorry, hold on. Wrong button. If Teal or Sharon can just verify you guys can see my screen.
Yep, we see it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, well, again, I'm Sharon, Austin Regional Manager, and I'm going to talk to you about Combined Arms. So at Combined Arms, it's important to know that our motto is to accelerate the impact on veterans in the community. But it's also important to note that we don't just service veterans, we also are servicing transitioning service member veterans and their families. Combined Arms is actually headquartered in Houston, Texas. It started a few years ago, and they actually have partnered with over 77 member organizations and offer over 400 unique services. Combined Arms is a collaborative organization. So we don't specifically offer services ourselves, but what we do is we collaborate servicing organizations in the area with each other under one technology platform called Echolink. So I'm going to talk to you about Echolink in a minute. Now, a lot of you have heard about collaborative organizations. You may have actually seen websites, for instance, where you can go online and you can put in your zip code and where you live, and it can tell you some of these servicing organizations in your area, and it can show you, where to go or who to contact. With Combined Arms, it's a little bit different, and I'll talk to you about that in a moment, but the real objective here with Echolink is to take that self-guided process out of the equation and to collaborate everything under technology so that process of transitioning is easier for the service member, the veteran, and their family members. Recently, we did receive a TWC grant to formulate the Texas Veteran Network. And that's another acronym for you to write down, the TVN. You might hear it a little bit. But the TVN is essentially the presence of Combined Arms in El Paso, in the DFW Metroplex, in Austin, and then also in surrounding rural counties. It's important to give you the example too, is that Austin isn't just downtown Austin. My territory here in Austin is actually 17 counties. So when you think about the needs of some individuals who are in Bastrop versus the people who are right here in downtown Austin, they're very, very different. So once we're done collaborating organizations in these new territories that we have under the TVN, we would have successfully made Texas the first interconnected state for veterans transitioning service members and their families. So what does that mean exactly? I know if I were to hear that, I wouldn't completely understand, but essentially what we're doing, well, oh, goodness gracious, we have a delay. So the way that we're accelerating the impact through value is we're making a no wrong door approach through this technology called Echolink. In your mind's eye, and I'm going to show you here in a minute what Echolink entails, but you can go on to various ways to get into our system. You can actually go on our website, which is in the chat, which is combinedarms.us. You can be put into our system from what we call a community ambassador or a community connector. Those are individuals who have access to Echolink. It's an app on their phone, and they're just organically coming in contact with veterans in the community. Sometimes they are former military spouses. Sometimes they actually work for organizations who have really strong VRGs of veteran resource groups. You think of some of your big companies, they actually create veteran-friendly departments within their organization, and they're veteran-friendly when it comes to hiring. So we have our community connectors, our community ambassadors. We have our website, and another way you can actually be entered into the portal is actually from our servicing member organizations. I mentioned that Houston does partner when we were established in Houston, we did partner with over 77 member organizations. In our new territories, we are building out new organizations, and these organizations include your federal organizations, your state organizations, national organizations, and then also local organizations when we build out that territory zip code management that I talked about. And all of these organizations have MOUs with us. And in that MOU, they agree that when an individual, and I call them end users because it's not just a veteran, it's a veteran, it's a transitioning service member, it's a spouse, it's your SIV community, it can be a caregiver. When that end user shows up in our system and they report that they need a certain kind of service, those member organizations have signed an agreement with us that they will connect with that end user within 96 hours or less. Most of our member orgs at this time are at about a 35-hour SLA, is what I call an SLA, which is a service level agreement. And when you think about these organizations, and especially how busy they are right now with COVID, that's a pretty incredible turnaround time. These member organizations get all of this information into Salesforce, into a dashboard, and they're able to connect with these end users pretty quickly to start the process of helping them with the needs that they report that they need. So Again, it's a no wrong door approach. It doesn't matter which branch of service you came from. It doesn't matter, are you a spouse, a divorced spouse, a veteran? Are you getting ready to transition? Are you a caretaker? It doesn't matter your discharge status. In this technology, in Echolink, when you go in and you take an assessment and you answer some very basic questions, the technology will then begin to filter down your demographic. Are you a male? Are you a female? What is it that you're looking for? Where do you live? And then it will show you the member organizations in your area that you're eligible for. The other incredible thing is we do track their capacity. So we never want to inundate one organization with everybody, because everybody understands nobody can serve everybody well. And so we make sure that we keep track of that as well, so nobody falls through the cracks. So all of that technology will filter down the organizations that you are eligible for. For me personally, especially in a situation that I was in as a divorced spouse, that's so incredible to me, because we are all very busy. We all, most of us are working, and if we're not, we're still busy with our daily lives. And so getting on the computer, getting on the phone, waiting in long lines for somebody to be connected with me, maybe sending a blanket email, hoping somebody will respond, only to find out I'm not eligible for any services anyway, is a little bit it's very disappointing. It's more than a little bit disappointing. I know for us, my husband did take care of his benefits. He made sure his retirement was calculated and his disability rating was calculated. But these extras that I call them, we didn't seek any of that. We didn't look for any type of mental health support, even social support. I've told you guys a million times, I missed my military family, and I missed my family, and I missed my friends. And so many of us, when we're transitioning out, we either go back to our home of record, and our zip code where we grew up doesn't look the same anymore, or the people that we were friends have moved on. And it would have been so nice to know about maybe Team Red, White, and Blue. I'm a runner, and it would have been great to connect with like-minded people with similar experiences, just to go for a run. Or, maybe I could have volunteered earlier, and that would have given me some sort of sense of belonging and support here in the Austin community. And anyway, utilizing this, we've definitely found that for our veterans, it's faster. There's accountability there on the organizations that are partnering with us. It's extremely efficient as well. And then also there's a value to the community. It's good for the community when we have veterans that want to come here to Texas. Texas offers incredible benefits for our veterans, and they're successful. We want them successful. We want them to feel that sense of security. Many have left the military where they were given housing and food and insurance and all of those comforts in life that are very difficult to find once you exit, if you're no longer eligible for them. And so any way that we can help to service those needs faster and more efficient is going to be good for the veteran. It's going to be good for the economy as well. I'm going to go to the next slide. I have a delay, so I don't want to happen what happened before. Let's see. There we go. So this gives you a little idea of what Echolink looks like. I wanted to put this slide in there because some of you that are here today are really going to want to go online, and you're going to want to take an assessment yourself, because you want to utilize your resources. But some of you here today are in a position where you've been through your journey, and maybe you've had that moment that I explained I had last year, where I finally looked up and I opened my eyes in my life and thought, I'm okay. I can give back. I'm in a good place, and it's my turn to give back. And if that's the case, on the left side of the screen here, I assume it's on your left, maybe it's on your right, but you can see kind of a cell phone there. When you become a community connector and a community ambassador, you can have access to this Echolink because you are just organically coming in contact with veterans. Maybe you actually work for a member organization. I know I'm going to be reaching out to Miss Tracy, who spoke earlier today, to talk to her about Woven. You would have access to this. So in the field, conversations you're having with people and you're meeting them and you find out they have a need, you can actually link them immediately into the system and start getting them the help and showing visibility to these organizations that you have a person that's eligible and that needs that assistance. On the other side, it kind of shows you the roadmap of when you start to receive that communication from an organization. And it really is, you can create a profile online. You can take that assessment. It's very simple. My dog is snoring. I'm so sorry if you can hear that. You can connect with organizations and then they receive that visibility. They have that MOU with us. They'll contact you and then you start communicating and then they'll start helping you. And most of the time, like I said, you're already vetted. We already know that you're going to be eligible and we're going to put you in that contact with them so you can begin that process of getting the help that you need. To give you an idea, and I'm going to go to the next slide. It's so slow pokey. There we go. So this gives you an idea of what these assessments are. So it's important to note here that you could go in and you could say, first and foremost, I have to find a job, a career, some, viable employment. So you could go in, you could create an assessment for careers, and that's what you want to work on first and foremost. And once you find that job, and VA benefits, absolutely, that's one of the first things a lot of individuals do. But then once you find that job, you start to feel disconnected and you really want to get involved. Maybe you want to volunteer. You can go back in and you can create a new assessment because it's time for you to do something you enjoy and you want to volunteer, or you want to get into a fitness regimen with like-minded people in your area and you want to see what type of organizations are out there that can offer that experience. You can go in and create your assessment. Maybe you're finding yourselves in a bit of a predicament and you need some legal help. I wish I would have known about legal services. Unfortunately, when I moved here, it would have taken a tremendous financial burden off of me. Mental health, we all have moments where we want to reach out for mental health care at different times and at different stages. Again, I wish I knew about this because I could have utilized this and maybe found an individual that I felt could have been a little bit more understanding for the journey that I'd had. I still gained a lot of great knowledge out of the mental health that I took advantage of. But I had to wait till I had benefits, and I had to kind of wait till my life was in order to take care of that. So this is when you go in, these are the types of assessments that you can actually take. You can go in as many times as you need to based on what chapter you're in life and what type of information or organization that you're looking for to connect you. So it's pretty incredible. I'm going to show you on our next slide. I'm going to show you just an example of some of the member organizations that we have connected with. And so you can see here, I'm going to leave this up for a moment, and this is just a few. So you guys can see some of the relationships here in Texas that we have developed. There's some incredible organizations, and everybody that I've met everyone has a story, right? We all have a story. We all have walked a journey and we can utilize that to contribute in some way. And I'm finding that a lot of these individuals and these organizations, they have these incredible stories and this heart of giving, and they just want to use the organization and use that passion as a vehicle to help whoever they can. I think that is very special in this community. I think that is very unique. And I think that it's just really a blessing, because I would dare to say that there are a lot of industries that do not operate that way. And that's been my experience. If that has not been your experience, then I apologize. But it's been mine, and I've been real fortunate now that I've kind of come out on the other side, and I realize that these organizations are out there. So just give you a moment just to kind of look. And again, when you go to your assessment, you don't see all of these organizations. You go in, you put your name and basic information and what kind of service you need. And then the technology that we have will actually present organizations to you. And then you give the permission to connect with them. And they immediately see your information through a Salesforce case, and they'll contact you. And then I'm going to show you, if you guys have a pen and paper handy. I talked to you a little bit about the new regions that we do have. So again, I'm here in Austin, but depending on where you are, or depending on friends that you have and where they're located, we do have a presence now in El Paso, in the DFW region, and then also in the rural Texas area. My email's in the chat, but these are our regional managers in these and their locations. So Miss Monique and Alexa and Vincent, those are their email addresses. You can always email me directly if you have questions. You can go on our website directly and fill out your own assessment. I can help you the best I can. I told you guys I've been here for 2 months. If I don't have the answer, I will find the answer for you. You just reach out to me, and you just let me know what you need, and I'm going to be there to help you. So I think that's it. That was a lot of talking, so I am sorry.